All right, Rhythm, let's begin with a breaking news development coming in. Last bulletin, we saw IRGC claiming that they have targeted the Israeli Prime Minister's office. Now we have a confirmation from Jerusalem that, yes, that targeting happened, but all missiles coming the way of Israeli PMO have been neutralized. This shows intensity of conflict there on the ground, that the Israelis have decided, or the Iranians have decided, to go after high-value targets like the Israeli Prime Minister. At least they have attempted, and met with failure, with the Israelis hitting back. Remember, their Iron Dome is world famous, and Iron Beam, Iron Dome together constitute an air defense, impregnable air defense, and that seems to be the case this time, particularly so when a high-value target is involved. The Israeli Prime Minister would be heavily guarded. And Israelis would make sure that no harm comes to their Prime Minister. Rhythm.
All right, absolutely. And as you're getting us that news, I'm also going to tell our viewers, Abhishek was just recently in Israel. I'm also going to come back and ask you more details on that. Let me also, Abhishek and I are going to go across to the guest who's joining us, London-based broadcast journalist James Marlowe, international affairs and defense analyst who's now joining us on this. And we're going to be really asking you, the focus on Hamas, Hezbollah, the Iran networks. You've focused, you've looked at them, you've seen what they're up to. How do you see this conflict panning out? Iran is doubling its offensive. It's very clear that Israel is a smaller country. It's 22,000 square meters. If you actually compare it to Israel, which is 3 times the size of Iraq, 2 times the size of Afghanistan, how do you see that panning out? Because Iran can take on a defensive on its own ground, but Israel, even last year we saw with just 50 missile attacks, it went for a ceasefire. James.
Well, firstly, this is a very fluid and unfolding situation. As I speak right now, there are missiles coming into the center of the country in Israel, Jerusalem. The sirens are going off right now. About 10 minutes ago, it was in Tel Aviv and towards the south. That's what's taking place in Israel. I myself just came back from Israel last Thursday, trying to get back right now. But as you know, that all the flights have been halted at this point. Israel is trying to bring in and working this out with a lot of Israelis across Europe and in the United States, trying to get back into Israel itself. In terms of trying to understand Hamas and Hezbollah, of course, they have been around for decades. They have been backed and trained and financed by the Iranian Revolution. They have been in power, of course, for 47 years. It is around 80% to 85% of the Iranian people in Iran right now. And bear in mind that about 7 million have left over the last 15 years, and they're around the world. But 80 to 85% of people do not want this regime in power whatsoever. It's a murderous regime. It has created so much instability across the Middle East. And now you're seeing at least 8 countries being hit by Iran when their beef supposedly was just with the United States and with Israel. But they said that if something happens to them, they will hit out. And it's clear right now that they're going after the tourist areas. In Bahrain, in Abu Dhabi, in Dubai, they've hit hotels, they've hit the international airport. And of course, this has caused chaos. And they want to hit the economy of these Gulf states. Saudi and the other Gulf states, they're not happy about this. They're not going to, at this stage, put soldiers on the ground. America are not going to put soldiers on the ground in Iran, nor Israel. That means in order to get this regime changed, which is the objective at this point, you're going to have to allow the people of Iran to suddenly overthrow this particular evil regime that has killed, some estimates put it at more than 50,000 people in the last 2 weeks.
Right. But, you know, we have seen some damage coming to the Americans also. A couple of aircrafts lost as per Kuwaiti police. So it's not a kind of war which is one-sided. The Iranians are hitting back and succeeding also, and that perhaps might create or is it creating some doubts about the American security umbrella, given the fact that the US for the first time perhaps in the geography has suffered some casualties? The aircrafts are falling from the air, among other things.
Well, I don't think we could have any disagreement on the fact that the Americans are the largest, biggest and most powerful military army in the world. China hopes to beat them in the next year or 2 or 3 years. I don't think as long as President Trump is in power, he's going to allow that to happen. I think it's true to say that the American military is tougher today than the Russian military, and they haven't done very well because they're in their 5th year of trying to take over smaller Ukraine. But in terms of what's happening in the war, well, of course, when a major war takes place, and this is a major war, make no mistake about it, you're going to have casualties on both sides. Israel is a tiny country, as you mentioned. I think it will probably go into Iran, maybe, I haven't checked this yet, but perhaps between 15 to 20 times the size of Iran. But bear in mind, the majority of the Iranian people, of course, oppose, as I said, their regime. But there are going to be casualties. Yesterday, Israel took a lot of casualties. Israel's got one of the strongest air defense systems in the world today. It's Iron Dome system, it's Arrow system, it's David Sling system. It's now using the very latest laser system, which is very, very cheap in terms of shooting down rockets. It doesn't cost $50,000 every time you shoot down a missile or a drone. This is very cheap. But nevertheless, when you're being bombarded so much that, of course, some of them are going to get through. We saw one get through last night in Jerusalem, another one yesterday in Beit Shemesh, which is an area between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. And if it's a direct hit and it gets through, these people yesterday, at least 9 were killed in Beit Shemesh. These people were inside a shelter. So this is what happens in war.
That's
but
true.
nevertheless, you must not